Yo, what's going on, guys? Mush back at it with another video. Want to go over the unfortunate news about Portal 64 making the rounds quite a bit. Now, to be frank, until this was actually pulled, I had no idea that this was even a thing happening. A lot of these projects are in various stages. Like, I'm sure there's 1,000 cool projects that are in development right now that I just don't know about, you know, fan-made projects and whatnot. But this really came on my radar recently as Portal 64, which was an open source Nintendo 64 demake of Portal. It has been taken down by Valve. Now, the reasoning behind the takedown seems to be unclear, but as noted in a post, news about the future of Portal 64, again, an entirely fan-made project that, it should be noted, was never supposed to be something that was going to be sold or anything like that. News about the future of Portal 64, so I've been in communication with Valve about the future of the project. There is some news and it isn't good. Because the project depends on Nintendo's proprietary libraries, they have asked me to take the project down. I am letting you all know before so you can choose to withdraw your support before the next payment cycle. This is the Patreon support. It was never going to be a project that was directly sold, is what I was getting at. I do still plan on continuing the channel. I have plans to do VR powered by the N64, a computer that runs on air pressure, and some other ideas kicking around in my head. I understand if you no longer support the channel, but if you do stick around, let me know what sorts of projects you would like to see. I may start a new game of my own, or continue to find interesting ways to push N64 hardware. I haven't entirely decided what I will do yet, and yeah, that's essentially what the post said. Then PC Gamer did also have a post regarding Portal 64. Again, the fan-made demake, I should say. I was about to say remake, but the demake. I was going to bring Valve's Portal to the N64 developer. James Lambert said he was asked by Valve to take the project down because it, quote, depends on Nintendo's proprietary library. So, it's not, Valve wouldn't really care about something like this. It's when you involve companies like Nintendo, and we all know how Nintendo acts when it comes to stuff like this. Let's just say Nintendo doesn't really play nice with the community when it comes to their IPs and their hardware and things of that nature. That's one of the main reasons I was so skeptical about Palworld, just because so many of the Mon designs were so similar to Pokemon, and how Nintendo is. I feel like Nintendo bugs out a lot over stuff like that, but Palworld looks like it's not going to have any sort of problems. But nonetheless, he also warned, however, that if he decided to move forward with the project, I would pretty much have to rebuild the game, the entire game from scratch. And then he went ahead and did just that to impressive effect. This is Portal on the Nintendo 64, which frankly, he thought wouldn't have been possible, and he literally was recreating the entire game. He initially just dropped a little test footage of the game, and it was unclear on whether or not he was going to move forward with the project. And that's like the worst part about it. Obviously, this man's been putting the work in for this project since going back to 2022, so nearly 2 years of work has been put, and then when you drop a I don't know if it's a cease and desist, whatever, like, you essentially bring down the ban hammer, that's gotta be such a demoralizing thing to go through. I get it, it's a fan-made project, it wasn't a project with the intention of a direct financial return in the sense of selling that project, but 2 years of work and input, even if it is a passion project, kind of just being stamped out, has to just be an incredibly demoralizing thing to go through. So I feel for the guy in terms of that. Unfortunately, the issue seemed to have been when he released a playable build of the project. So I've been in communication with Valve about the future of the project. There is some news that it isn't good, like I said. And then in an email sent to PC Gamer, Lambert confirmed the takedown request was legitimate, although the reasoning wasn't entirely clear. I think Valve didn't want to be tied up in a project involving Nintendo IP. I don't blame them. If I could somehow have a discussion with Nintendo about the possibility of continuing Portal 64, I would love that. I don't know what it would take to convince them, and that's the issue. Nintendo isn't really one of these companies that's open to dialogue like that. You know, I talked about in previous videos how it made all the sense in the world for Nintendo to eventually bring their games to PC just for, you know, to create residual revenue on the PC market, much like Sony and releasing their games late. Nintendo, and a lot of you guys pointed this out in the comments section when I even suggested that as a thought, Nintendo does a lot of things for no rhyme or reason. They kind of operate on their own island, and they're not even open to having discussion points like this And it's more like you have these legal letters being sent and all this, and there's never any open kind of dialogue that does happen. Remember, there was a point where Dolphin Emulator was being planned and prepped for a release on Steam. How'd that ultimately turn out? When we saw Dolphin Emulator on Steam and I did a video on it, I was pretty skeptical that it would ever see the light of day, and a lot of people were like, hey, it's just an emulator and Nintendo can't do anything about that, but Nintendo is wild when it comes to stuff like this, and Nintendo for that sent a letter, as noted on PC Gamer, link to that article in the description box below. Nintendo sent a letter to Valve ahead of the launch that attorney Kellen Moyer of Moyer Law said it was a warning shot against releasing it. Nintendo is sending clear notice to Valve that it considers Dolphin to violate the DMCA and it should be released on Steam. Given that Valve controls what is available on its store, it made the decision not to wade into any dispute between the Dolphin developers and Nintendo and instead followed Nintendo's preemptive request and took down the Steam page. And that's usually and probably the right thing for Valve to go. Valve's not going to be in this position where they're fighting battles for people that are releasing stuff on their storefront. They don't want to get into a legal battle with Nintendo. You know how much of a headache that's going to be. And it was noted I would consider porting to LibDragon if Valve agreed to allowing me to finish before trying to make the jump. It would be a lot of work and I wouldn't want to commit to it before knowing if it would actually pay off. They also don't seem too interested in the project as I can't meaningfully distribute it on Steam, which is an issue right away. I will also leave a link to his YouTube channel in the description box below since he has been working on that for a while. But nevertheless, stuff like this is always super depressing when it comes to just fan-made projects. Like, Nintendo is always going to be one of those publishers that is going to be very down on any kind of fan-made projects, and there's other publishers like that. Remember Atlus for a while? They were pretty crazy about various things going on, like people emulating Persona 5 through RPCS 3. Thankfully, now we have Persona 5 as a native release, but think about how cool something like this would have been. Even if it's the Nintendo 64 isn't a platform that I have a lot of nostalgia towards or anything like that, but I can imagine there are tons of people that love Portal. There are tons of people that love the Nintendo 64, so the idea of this coming from a fan-made project, that is super exciting, and fan-made projects have been super cool. Somebody did a Bloodborne remake, somebody did Bloodborne card. There's a lot of cool stuff that happens that fans that are way more talented than I will ever be figure stuff out and try to make these releases. It's just that when you are doing something anything Nintendo related, like Nintendo is going to be one of those companies that is just going to be very hard to work with. And generally the case is the companies that are super against, like, you know, any kind of instance of their IP being infringed or anything like that, they're not open to any kind of open dialogue or anything like that. Like, open dialogue in reference to things like this is very difficult to have because, guess what? If Nintendo did have open dialogue, you know what would happen? People would just get mad about that open dialogue and it would be more negative criticism. At this point, they can just send out a legal letter or talk to Valve and they'll pull whatever is being worked on down and then they can move on with their day. Yeah, there'll be a little bit of backlash, but it won't be enough and it won't be a lot in comparison to if they actually had open dialogue, because open dialogue, Nintendo doesn't have any interest in actually coming to a conclusion and coming to a solution that would benefit everybody involved. No, they would rather just pull it and move on in their merry way. So it's kind of the unfortunate reality we live in. But nonetheless, definitely interested to hear your guys' thoughts. I'll leave a link to PC Gamer's article in the description box below, and yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace. Hey, what's going on, guys? Mush here again. Hope you enjoyed the video. As you guys might know, YouTube's notification system is sometimes a little bit wonky, even if you're subscribed to the channel. Maybe you're not abundantly aware that I uploaded a video. To remedy that situation, make sure you hit the bell notification button. This way, whenever I upload a new video, and I try to upload as consistently as possible, you will be notified directly of the upload, and you can watch it as soon as it goes live. I would really appreciate if you guys hit that button so you can stay up to date with all of the content I'm posting. But as always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.